Okay. Try again. So we're going to be doing our summer garden today, and I'm going to be using the planter app for that. Yeah. So again, having technical difficulties, which is most likely my fault. 90% chance that is. And what I'm going to do is, this is my spring garden that we designed, and so this is the planter app if you haven't seen it. And at the end of the video, because everything got kind of jacked up, it'll be at the in the description. There'll be a discount code, so just hold on for that. Hey Kelly, how's it going? Glad you're here with us. Trying to get set up, but you know how it is. So this is what we did on the last live. So we're going to, just so you guys can get a little bit of a view, we're going to work into rotating appropriately for this and getting everything out. So, yeah, I'm going to delete. Actually, I'm not going to delete. What am I talking about? I'm going to go back and let's double it up. Copy. So, hey guys, if you're just joining us, welcome. Glad you're here with me. I'm trying to get out of my comfort zone and do more lives, so I hope you guys enjoy them and watching me fumble about as I try to figure out all this stuff. But basically what I'm doing now is I'm just deleting the gardens from this plan. And then we'll go back and make sure at the end that we have correctly rotated crops like we're supposed to, this, that, and the other. And if at any time you guys have a question or anything, shoot it and we will go over it. I'd love to talk to you guys. I like the interaction. So it's definitely nice to have that communication with people. And so each one of these squares is a square foot. And if you're just joining, the link to this will be at the end of this. I will drop it in the description, and you will get a discount. So they don't sponsor this video, but they do sponsor our podcast, the Backyard Gardens podcast. So we just, because we love this program so much, I don't mind talking about it. Hi, Maiden K. How are you doing today? I know you guys are glad you signed on today to watch me delete stuff, right? But that's the way it goes. And so I want you to remember as we go through this potato bed. So it's going to be a little bit delayed in the planting, but it's important to have that there so we know what we're going to do. Let us know what you guys are doing in your garden too while I'm doing this, and what seeds you're starting, because I know you guys are getting itching to start some seeds. Almost done. All right. Delete. So I'm going to start with the easy stuff. Hey, Suzanne, how's it going? I got my screen to see what you guys are writing over here, so I'm looking over. That's what's going on. I hope you're having a good day. So I'm going to start easy, and if I check this box here, what it allows me to do is just quickly replant over and over and over. And so you can click on each one of these, and it'll tell you information about growing the crop, planting dates and stuff for your area, all that good stuff. But we're going to focus on summer. So the easy one for me right now is going to be corn. And I'm going to show you what bed I'm going to put in and tell you why here in a second. So I'll put it in this bed. basically because I've loaded it with a lot of extra nitrogen. So it's primed and ready to feed the corn. So we're going to do a full bed of corn, and that's really recommended for the pollination of it. So it's really simple, and we'll try and get one harvest out of it, maybe more. Yes, Maiden K, it is too early to put tomatoes in the ground in Virginia. You're a little bit excited, but that's okay. Kelly asked, transplants. Well, good job, Kelly. Onions are fun to grow. They're going to be in your garden a long time. Because this is my onion and garlic bed too, so we need to keep an eye on these two beds as we build this out and really think about what we're doing. So this is my cattle panel here, my trellis, and I'm going to go ahead and include, I think I'm going to put my pumpkins on there this year, my Seminole pumpkins on that side. I know I can hear somebody getting ready to type at some point during this. I thought you should do the Three Sisters, squash and beans, but I don't really do the Three Sisters. I don't really care, but my pumpkins were here last year, so by moving them over, I'll be able to do that because they grew up and all the way over the trellis and out into the yard. So last year we did tomatoes in, trying to think which bed. We did sweet potatoes in this bed, and we did our tomatoes in, I believe it was this bed, but let's double check that. I know I didn't delete it. That would be terrible. So this is what would have been the fall plan. Yeah, so we did tomatoes here last year. So we are going to move our tomatoes. Oh, there's a lot of comments. So I've never seen anyone do the Three Sisters method successfully. Rob, that is the same thing that I have seen, heard, and read, but everybody loves to talk about it. So I'm just not going to do it, not concerned about it at all, and I'm just going to kind of move on. Believe we're still streaming. If we're streaming, can you guys give me a shout out or something so I know? My screen just went blank here. Yeah, Two Sisters. What did you lose? Your squash? And so we're going to put our tomatoes in this bed here. We're going to add our tomatoes. Thank you, Shiloh. I don't know what's going on my end. I got major issues unfolding. So I don't worry about the variety because I don't know. I'm not really totally sure what variety I'm going to use, but we're going to put them here. And so we'll do mostly the other tomatoes in the wild garden as well. So this was where the squash were last year. And now we're going to put the tomatoes. And in front of that, I like to put my peppers. So we will put peppers. We'll load them up. And the red dots are telling us that they are combative. But I know how to, they're combative because they use the same nutrients and have the same pests. But at the same time, it's easier for me to treat them. So it works out good. Thank you, Shiloh. I'm glad you like the videos. So I'm growing, my corn this year I'm growing is going to be, let me look and see what it is. You want to see my hot mess? So this is my seed container that I hold everything in. I can't remember the name off the top of my head. I'm going to be growing solstice corn. So I did that last year and had a bit of a fail, but we're going to give it a go again. And then I'm also going to try and do popcorn in another bed. So we'll do that as well. And then where the potatoes are, what we're going to end up doing is the same thing we did last year. I think I like this plan. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to do two different things. And I don't know if it's going to be on here. I'll have to talk to the developer if it's not and get him to add it. Yeah, it is not going to be on here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a cover crop of buckwheat down after my potatoes come out. And that's going to do two things. One, that'll help feed the soil. And two, it will help feed the bees in the summer dearth. And then after that's said and done, we are going to put... Where are you at? I'm going to put Brussels sprouts there. I know I'm scrolling fast, but... There we go. So we're going to put Brussels sprouts in this bed here. And I'm going to do a full bed of Brussels sprouts when it's time because they typically seem to last the full winter in my garden. But I do want to try and get a harvest earlier, so I'm going to play around with the planting times and adding shade to them as well. Yeah, so Rob, the solstice corn, from what I understand, you have a better chance of getting 2 ears per stalk, which I like the idea of. So that's what I'm going to go with that. Tammy, what state are you in? And then we got to make room for our sweet potatoes. I mean, that's like our gold crop here. We eat that throughout the winter and spring. And I do a full bed of sweet potatoes. Absolutely full. So we'll do that. And this bed. And I like using this bed. Well, this is a new bed, but I was using this one before because it gets a lot of sun. It gets really hot. And so it leaves a lot of room for it to grow and just soak up the heat that it loves so much. And then I let it just grow out into the yard. I don't really care. If you trim the vines, you don't get as many potatoes, so we try not to trim. And one thing I like about this program is I can go through and scroll and find the different, like visually see, like, oh, I need to plant this, I need to plant that. So I like that aspect of it too. Now we do need to do our squash. And what I did last year is I did a full bed of squash, and that seemed to work out really good for me, vine borers and all. So we'll do that. And then this bed right here was potatoes and Brussels sprouts. So we have a little bit of room to play with that. Oh, Tammy, if you're next to me, you need to have your onions in the ground like ASAP. They need to be in the ground by... I've had mine in the ground since December, so you can pretty much get them in the ground as early as you can. You may actually, if you wait that long, you may be a little bit late because you won't harvest those until probably June. Now we do need to do some beans, so we will put our beans on this back here. So we had our cucumbers here last year, so we'll move our beans over here, and then I'll move my cucumbers over here. And that works really good. So now we're down to 2 empty beds in this section of the garden. This will be the onions, so they will come out around June, and I'm going to turn and burn it. I'm going to plant it as soon as I can. Let's see. I could put a nightshade there. I don't know, it's really difficult because in June it's starting to get pretty hot. So I need to have a pretty established plant in the ground. But I do have we could do some okra. So let's do a row of okra. We may mix this bed up a little bit and not do like a solid planting. So we'll do a row of okra. Oh wait, I was gonna do corn in this bed too. So we'll split it. And this will be the popcorn. And now we're looking at this bed here. So that's going to be my Brussels sprouts should come out. I'm hoping within the next month. So we want to let it rest for about a month roughly. I may end up putting some kind of cover crop in there, but we can get something in the ground. We had potatoes there last year, so we don't want to put another nightshade there. So we don't want to put tomatoes, peppers, or eggplants in there. So we want to make sure that we focus on that. Let's see. No nightshades. I don't know. What do you guys think I should put there? I almost have to put a nightshade there at this point. I could put squash there, but I got enough squash as it is. I don't need but so much squash. And ground cherries is considered a nightshade, but it's not a nightshade, I think. And I love growing ground cherries. I call them husk tomatoes. So they're completely different. Shiloh, what do you mean by pollinators am I growing? So Rob, last year when I grew corn, I planted it and everything went well, but I spaced it too far apart. I put 1 kernel per foot, and I should have put 2 per foot, and everything else kind of worked out really well with that. So I'm going to keep doing that and moving in that direction. I'm going to, when you're planting in a garden, a raised bed, you have to look at it a little bit different than if you're planting in like a farm or like a big plot. So you don't have the room for a big plot, but you want the corn densely packed because it's pollinated by wind. So you really want it in a big plot like that. So as long as you can get it all to come up and get to pollination at the right time, then you should be good to go. So it should work. Shiloh, for herbs, I basically stick to rosemary, basil. I'm going to give sage a shot this year. I've not been overly successful with it. And I would like to grow um, bay leaves because I'm running low on bay leaves. So I'll do that. I always have some kind of. I have a. Oh, and we also grow oregano for our chickens, so we'll do that. Let's see. Let's double check. Penn State says they are nightshades. There you go. They're nightshades. I stand corrected, and I am a-okay with that. So that being said, I think we're still going to take a chance this year, and we're going to throw them in this bed. And so that'll give us a good place to start for the main garden. Now we have these pots here. So this is the greenhouse, and this is a pot, this is a pot, this is a pot, this is a pot, and this is a pot. They are all tree pots. So I got lucky and found some on the side of the road, another side of the road find. So we need to put something in there, and I like to put a tomato in a pot. It's just something that I like to do. I like to put peppers in pots as well. So we're going to give that a shot too. And we're also going to clear out this greenhouse because I'm going to attempt to grow in the greenhouse again this summer because I'm a glutton for punishment. But I'm trying to move myself in the right direction and take an educated approach based off of what I learned this year. So we are going to do that. And I also have another trellis in the back here I've got to fill up. Move. Move. Uh-oh. There we go. Move. So I want to put black eyed peas back here. I typically grow my black eyed peas on a 4-foot trellis, and I get enough of them. So we're going to go ahead and do that as well. What's up, Roy? Central California in the house. Man, I tell you what, I've been making those seed charts for people, and everybody that has sent and requested one from California, your state's very difficult. But I thoroughly enjoy making the seed charts because it's a challenge, and it's interesting to see how much more and how differently you can grow there. Now I have to be smart about these pots because I added some this year. So what I say here and what is done, they may be flopped a little bit because I don't want to put tomatoes in them twice or nightshades in them twice. But I know that there's at least 2 of them or 3 of them that did not have nightshades in them. So we're gonna put a cherry tomato here, and then a different tomato here, a different tomato here, and that should fill those up nicely. And then I'm also, eggplants work really good in a pot. I think I may do a late squash in this one. And nope, I take that back. We're going to flip the script because I forgot I was going to add basil for my bees and just let it go to seed so they have something to eat. So we're just going to add 4 plants of basil in each pot. And once they get going, the bees will eat it up. So that'll work out really good. And the greenhouse, so what I learned about the greenhouse is it doesn't get pollinators in there, so I have to hand pollinate, which I don't want to do, I have 0% interest in doing. So I'm going to add bush beans in there this year. They are wind pollinated, and I do have wind in there, so it works out well. So we're going to do this side all bush beans. And we're going to succession sow it. So I'll start the back row first, and then I'll come back and do the front row a couple weeks later. Yeah, Tammy, I do. After I get to the wild garden and I get that plan up, I'll bring up those other plans and show you. But I do sow carrots again in the spring, and then I do it in the fall. So thank you, Connie. Thank you for stopping by. I'm glad you guys are coming by. This is new for me, so it's nice to have some people to talk to when I plan my garden. So last year in the greenhouse, I did squash, didn't get any pollinators. What I did put in there, and it did work, were ground cherries. So I'm actually, I'm going to do that again. I forgot about that. I am going to put it in here again. And that'll work out really good. And then I'll put the beans over here. So we'll do beans. And these, again, these are all bush beans. And if you get, one thing I like about bush beans, I had said on the Backyard Gardens podcast in previous years that I wasn't going to grow them anymore. But it's such an easy way to add something in really quick that's a fast grower in the summertime to plug a hole, that it works too good that I have to keep planting them, because sometimes you just, I don't want to leave anything blank. You get one shot per season at this stuff. So I want to make sure that I can, maximize my garden space as needed. And we need to compost these because I'm not going to use them. And for right now, I don't know what I want to put in this bed. I need to reevaluate what I'm growing and then look at it. But I do want to move on to the wild garden, because that's going to be its own beast in itself. Well, actually, I already did it. So there you go. So here's going to be another round of squash. Bush beans here. This is going to all be potatoes in the spring. So when they all come out, we will add the ground cherries and the okra. I put okra in there last year. It didn't do well. All of this garden got compacted soil, so I need to kind of keep reworking it. And the only way to do it is just keep planting it over and over and over. So, and adding soil and stuff like that. But I'll keep doing that. And this whole bed was peppers last year, and it didn't do great. So I do need to find something for here. I had put tomatoes over here last year, and they did well. So this is going to be another bed of tomatoes, and that should work out pretty good. And I left all of this blank up here because I want to give these watermelons plenty of room for the roots to grow and just do what they want. Because this garden was designed, in reality, it's kind of changed shape over the years, but the main purpose of it was just to kind of let things grow in it and not worry about where stuff is going. So that's what we want to do with that side of it. I have to keep plugging and playing, and this is going to be, this is version 2 of the plan for the wild garden, and there'll probably be a third version before we get going. But once I get my spring plants in there and I see how they're producing and what's coming out of it, then I'll know what I need to do. So again, this is the it just because we like it. And if you guys want it, there'll be a link below so you guys can buy it, do what you want with it. if you use the link, I think you get a pretty good discount on a lifetime subscription to it. So it works out pretty good. If you guys have any questions, go for it, shoot. And while you're doing that, I will pull up my spring garden plan so you can see what I've got planned for spring. So the main garden, this is the main garden here. Hey, Virginian. Glad you're listening in. Thank you. And the only thing I'm going to change with this plan here is I am going to end up planting in this bed, and I'm going to put my rutabagas in this bed. So I will be adding that here. And the back side of the trellis, I do need to add something for that, but I'm not sure what I want to do. I need to rework that because it's so small that I believe some of the stuff that I've been planting hasn't had enough room for the roots to grow. So I need to kind of work on that a little bit and see where I want things to go and progress in the future. So that's what we're going to do with that. And then the same goes for, well, peas worked really good on it last year, and I'm a little bit behind on my pea planting, but we're having a little bit of a warm spell, so I want to do it afterwards. But that is planting a summer garden. We've started seeds so far. The only seeds I've started for summer are pepper seeds. And I started those 3 or 4 days ago. Let's see if I missed any questions earlier. So one thing I don't do and I don't care to do is winter sowing. It's just not for me. Everybody keeps asking me to do it, and I'm not interested in doing it, so I'm not going to. I like growing seeds. I like starting them in the house and seeing them. I like watching them progress and taking care of them. It gives me something to do. Not that I'm running out of things to do, but it's just kind of fills that void for me for the winter time. So yeah, planning for pollinators. I started a little series last fall about my pollinator garden that I dreamed about, that I failed at, that I dreamed about, I failed at, and I'm coming back at it. So I'm going to add to that, and I'm growing, for that, I'm growing asters, echinacea, which I really like echinacea anyways, black-eyed Susans or something that I need to add. I need to add a lot of black-eyed Susans actually, because for our bees, there's in the fall, black-eyed Susans and goldenrod are the big ones that they can use for making honey to get through winter. So we want to add as much stuff as we can for that, because they're coming out of the summer dearth and there's really no nectar or pollen. So we'll be adding that. And the one thing I do want to add, I have a trellis back there and I have some jasmine on it, but the nectar is no good for the bees. So I'm going to pull that out, and I think I'm going to add sweet peas to it, for the simple fact is I want to add like an aromatic, am I saying that right? Aromatic smell, sensory to my garden. And anytime I walk by that, it just permeates the air. So I do want to add that, and I need to put that in the ground. We're supposed to be warm for the next 2 days, and it's going to cool back off. So I'll go out and I'll just plant those in the ground right there where they sit, and they should grow, hopefully, in time. But that garden gets a fair amount of shade, so I've got to be careful. I don't know what exactly will produce well there. So anybody else, any questions, anything you guys want to talk about? By all means, let me know. No, so corn is another one of those Brussels sprout things for me, where I've had I grew it one year, and I was like, oh, I'm just gonna put a little plug in, and so I just direct sowed a couple, got a couple, plants come up, no pollination. I did it again. I did it for 3 years that way, and then last year I dedicated a whole bed to it, but I didn't have my spacing right. And no, I don't transplant those. I just direct sow them. I really like to direct sow as much as I like to start seeds. I really like to direct sow. It's just so much easier on me. So I'll be doing that for the corn, and I like what else am I gonna direct? So let me see, what else have I got on my plan here. It helps for me to see it. My potatoes will be direct sown. Um, all of my beans will be direct sown. Every single one of those. My squash will be probably half and half, and then my okra will be direct sown as well. More than likely, I probably am going to run out of space on my seed shelf by then, so I'll direct sow those. Or if I transplant them, I'll start them like right next to the garden in small pots and then move them over. But I'll probably just direct sow them. I did that one year. I direct sowed it, and I had an okra come up, and I mean I harvested off of it all summer, and it was like 10 feet tall and probably 3 inches in diameter. It's a huge tree. It was insane. So I'll do that. And then the sweet potatoes, they're not really direct sown, but you can't just put a sweet potato in the ground like you can a regular potato and grow it, because it'll produce slips, but as those slips stay attached to the potato, it will not produce a sweet potato. So you've got to remove it and do all that. So what I'll do is I'll start the slips, and then I'll remove them, and then I'll plant them in the ground. And my watermelons will be direct sown more than likely, and my pumpkins will probably be direct sown as well, and my cucumbers. So those are all the things that I plan to direct sow. It's subject to change a little bit, but for the most part, that's where we stand on that. Oops. Yeah, and what I learned last year, Tammy, I was just looking at your question again. I was thinking about it. I don't. There's a lot of plants that flower that the pollinators cannot use the pollen. So I'm trying to be more educated in what I do. Okay, so Connie, I'm a really, really, really not good. I'm not going to say bad, but a not good flower grower. But what I'm doing is what I'll tell you. And what I'm doing for my wildflower garden is I just went out and I tilled it up the other day, lightly tilled it. What I should do, but I'm not going to do, is I should go ahead right now and lay a tarp on it, but I'm a little behind schedule. So I'm just going to go ahead and plant it and see what happens. And then next year I may have to tarp it so that all the weed seeds that I turned up won't regerminate. But I would just do that and then just work that soil. You can mix in some compost because you have clay soil. You want to mix it up, but you don't want to till it too much because that can cause compaction as well. And then just kind of mix that in and then just lay the wildflower seed on top. And what I did after I put my flower seed down, my wildflower seeds, is I went and I walked on it just to get it, good ground contact. I didn't bury it or anything. You may, if your soil is really hard, it may be better to kind of get a couple packs of seeds and start some. I mean, I know you can't do it's hard to do some wildflowers that way, but you could do like cosmos, you could do black-eyed Susans. I'm trying to think what else. You guys, feel free to chime in on the flower part. This time of year, I don't know where you're located, so it's hard to see what else you could start by seed, because some stuff needs to go through a cold stratification period. But you could work that in and then just plant those. They will reseed themselves, get you off to a good start, and as you work that soil over the years, and you can start adding in and then overseeding with a wildflower mix. That's what my plan would be. Now I'm the opposite of you. I have sandy soil, so I can't really get into my soil too much. I have to water a lot, stuff like that. But that's where the wildflowers work out really good because they don't need a lot of water. And marigolds are a really good one too. Um, the pollen's not as useful for them, but it is good for them because it gives them places to hide, places to be, and it is considered beneficial to your garden. So that kind of works out too. Shiloh, where are you located? The so Virginian, I get aphids every year, but I don't worry about aphids because I use neem oil on them, or soapy water. Usually, I hit them with like a soapy water mix. I've done videos about this in the past, and I'll probably end up doing another video, or it'll happen in a video at some point. But I'll make like a soapy water mixture. I'll spray my plants with that. If that doesn't work, then I'll come back and I'll hit them with a neem oil mixture and just kind of do that every probably 7 days. And usually one, maybe two treatments, and it takes care of the aphids. So I don't really battle them that much. But otherwise, I've had a lot of plants get like I've got a cabbage plant out there right now that's attacked by aphids, and I can't use my neem oil because I use cold pressed neem oil, which is its most natural form. So it's solidified. It has to you have to warm it up, and in the summertime it's no problem, but right now it's an issue. So I have to warm it up so I don't use it. So I'm just gonna pull that cabbage plant out because it's been having on them, but because the other plants are so strong, the aphids have not jumped over to it. So, and I usually don't get my aphids until my peas start to finish out for the year. They're starting to get stressed from the heat and stuff like that. You're in Virginia, so I know that you guys get plenty warm. So that's probably when you're starting to see them is towards the end of the growing season for them. Yeah. So again, flowers. I'm working at it piece by piece. Just it just is what it is. But thank you, Shiloh. I'm glad I might be on the right path with the perennials. I hope if you're not talking to me, then I'm wrong. Zinnias are a good one too. Yeah, zinnias are good. But again, the pollen for the zinnias aren't really good for, at least for what I'm doing for my honeybees. So I'm not really worried about doing those. I grow zinnias because I like them. They're easy to grow, and they're cut flowers for my wife. So I'll bring in cut flowers for her once a week or something like that to keep them going. Yeah, so if you're in Texas, Connie, depending on where you are in Texas, Texas is broken up into three growing zones. So within those three growing zones, and it's not like, zone 5, 6, 7, like the state itself is broken up into three different zones, depending on where you are, which most people around like Dallas, Austin, Houston, and stuff like that, that's a specific area that they focus on. You're probably a little late to start your wildflower seeds as far as direct sowing. If you were to get like a bag of them and just cast them, that's probably not. You're probably a little late for that. You would still get stuff to grow, but it's going to be harder because some of the stuff, those bags contain annuals and perennials, and the perennials, which I do know a lot about, they need cold stratification, and I know about that because I have to do when I've started like bonsai seeds before and stuff like that, and it's really hard to get those to grow because you need to have that stratification. In which I'm sowing seeds in November and letting them go all the way, and not seeing outside, sitting outside, taking care of them, and they don't even start growing until like April here. Yes, so cone flowers, echinacea, they need the stratification as well. Bachelor buttons are good. Don't know a lot about phlox, so I can't help you there. Asylum, I've done asylum before. I can get it to germinate, I can get it to grow, but when I put it in the ground, it gets so hot here, it burns up. Like my front yard, for instance, but the way the sun hits it, it's so hot that I had to move more to a tropical plant design up there than in my backyard because it got all summer heat. I can't grow a sunflower. I said it. I can't get it to grow. There it is. It's all out in the open. Yes, Michelle. So I definitely plan in this. Let me see if I can pull it up for you. In this bed right here, where there's going to be potatoes that'll come out in June, but I won't plant these until August. These Brussels sprouts. I will be putting buckwheat in that bed in between this year. I've done it before, and now that I have the bees, I really want to help them, so that will help with that. And then I will chop it and drop it, just like you said. So yeah, I do buckwheat, and if you're anybody's looking for that, buckwheat's really good because when it gets cold, it dies. So you could grow it as a cover crop in that area that you're going to till up. It'll grow, it'll die, and then you can kind of move on from that. If I could give anybody one piece of advice that's looking to do something and they're getting really excited and you've got a big long list pulled up, I would say tone it down and focus on like five different things. That would be my thing. So, one of the first flowers that I was good for is Shasta daisies. Super easy to grow. They're perennial, they come back. They spread slowly so you can keep them under control. So those worked really good. And then the other one I did was it's right here. If my son was here, I'd tell him to punch me in the mouth so it'd come out. I can't think of it. It's you guys. It's tall, purple flowers. Um, Damn, I cannot think of it. Let me see if I got an old seed packet in here. I don't have any more seeds. Yeah, no more seeds. I can't think of it off the top of my head, but whatever it is, you have to take my word for it. It's really easy. I'll try and put up a post or something, or maybe I'll do a video about easy flowers to start. And the reason why I know they're easy is because I can grow them. Yeah, Shiloh, but if you're starting like a wildflower garden, that's tough. You don't even need to, so you don't even need to put them in a wet paper towel. You could put the bag in the refrigerator. And the best way to do is put the bag in the refrigerator, put it in there for 4 days, take it out for a couple days, put it back in, take it out, put it in, take it out. And you're just mimicking the season change. So you can do that as well. And then the seed will kind of think. Now, if you make it wet, you just have to make sure that they don't rot. That's the only thing. If you unsubbed because I can't grow sunflowers, then see ya. That's just the way it is, man. Can't get them to grow. Not here. I've gotten them to grow other places, but that's how it works. I've typically, in my gardening life, focused mostly on vegetables and getting in the flowers. There's a lot of variance in heat tolerance, sun tolerance, and all that stuff. So it's just a little bit more complicated for me. Yeah, so you may have asked this in the comments. I don't remember World's Worst Gardener. Um, I don't have problems with. I've had deer come in twice, and they typically go after my sweet potatoes, and they'll just like shave the top off, and that's about it. What I do is I plant lavender, basil, mint, stuff like that, very fragrant flowers around my garden. And what happens is when the deer go to walk through them or walk by them, they on them because their number one sense is their smell. They're basically blind. So if they get it on them, then they think they're susceptible to predators. So then they will not come around. So that's what we do. Now we also have a dog, but she's not outside all the time. She's on the couch being lazy. She's basically a person, but that helps. But mostly we don't have that issue. And if we do have that issue, it's during certain periods of the year, and it's typically around fall, spring and fall. So spring when they're, getting ready to have their babies, their fawns and stuff like that, they get really hungry. And then in the fall, we have that issue because they're getting ready for winter. So that's the biggest one. And another thing, when I lived in New England, and when I first tried a husk tomato, the guy told me that he had his whole farm surrounded with a hedge of husk tomatoes. And he said whatever it was, the deer would not walk through the husk tomatoes, which a lot of people call ground cherries. He would not walk through them. So I don't know if that's true, but it kind of works pretty well. So, it makes sense. And when I say it works pretty well, it would be because you have a whole hedge of food. Kind of works for me. Don't know what liatris is. Sorry, Curbster. Like I said, I grow a lot of lavender. And as a matter of fact, I bought one plant 3 years ago, put it in, it turned into a big bush, and then I propagated it and I planted it throughout my yard. So it did really good too. Propagation, I know a lot of you guys are new to the channel because I just experienced a little bit of growth, which thank you guys if you're new and if you're old. But propagation is something that I'm really, really big on. I love propagating plants. I love propagating different vegetables and flowers and trees and stuff like that. So, we'll be doing some of that. Typically, those videos, nobody cares about it, but I love it so much, and it's such a big part of what we do that's moving forward. I'm going to do more of that because there's on my seed starting shelf in the summertime, it'll be covered with propagations. So be it tomatoes, different flowers, different, like I do like ficus trees and stuff like that. Maples, I'll do some of those. So we do a little bit of that. Michelle, I don't do butterfly bushes anymore because apparently they're really invasive depending on where you live. So I cut those out of my growing plan completely. So I do have a butterfly bush that I'm just not really taking care of. But the bees, it's like 5 feet from the hive, and I've got 60,000 bees in there, and I've never seen a bee on it. So you can do it. But if you're worried about flowers, then yes. And another thing is for and how did we get on flowers like this? But that's cool. It's cool. Milkweed. So milkweed is something that I've been trying to grow. I can get it to grow, but I haven't gotten it to come back. So I started another tray of milkweed this year. And I think I've started some like pollinator packs. So I'm sure you guys are aware I sell seedlings. And what we're thinking about doing is we're either going to offer pollinator packs of flowers, or we may end up giving some away. I don't know what we're going to do. Shiloh, you should try it. It does work. A lot of people say putting ivory, like hanging a bar of soap up, works. I've done that. I just start looking like a crazy person, so I backed away from it. But when you go out in your garden, you start smelling all these smells. That's really how that works. So it's an instinct that they have. We just don't realize it. I mean, you got to think. What do deer smell like? How does a deer know to mate? It uses its nose. How does an animal mark its territory? With its nose. I mean, they pee, right? So it's the same idea. I'm going to try and propagate blueberries this year too. I want to propagate those because I don't want to buy any more, but I want to grow more. I mean, there, I said it. World's worst gardener. Are you a hunter? Just saying. You might want to start hunting. If you got 6 deer in the backyard. Now, my parents, I'm trying to think of how to explain it. They have a yard, fairly large. And last year, I finally got her to put in 6 raised beds. Well, I told her to put 2 in, she put 6 in, but that's a different story. And then off to the side of the property, probably about 20 feet away, there is a block of deer corn. And so the deer, I mean, you go out there and, I mean, it's a highway. There's literally a trail in the grass in the open field where they walked through. And what we did is I didn't do it, but what they did is they took like a 1x2, and they put them up in each corner. So probably about 4 feet high around each corner of their 8x4 foot raised bed. And then they took netting and stapled to that. And I mean, the deer are literally, I've watched them eat right next to the garden bed, and they will not go into the garden bed. It's crazy. So think about that too. It's not, I love you, Mom, but it's ugly, and it's really hard to get into the garden. It's not really hard. You could definitely modify it to work out for you, but at the same time, they're getting food out of their yard, and they're feeding deer too. So if I'm trying to get her to let me shoot one of them, because I'd love to fill my freezer with deer meat, but I mean, it is what it is. Upstate South Carolina. You are more than welcome. Get Fit Fancy Pants. Love that name. Fancy Pants did it for me. Yeah, so Shiloh, hot peppers are like the thing here. I don't know what it is. Tomatoes and hot peppers. End of story. Like, people don't care to buy like squashes and stuff like that, which I don't blame them. But that's why we're doing so many different flavors of hot peppers this year. See, I was wondering about the butterfly bushes and butterflies, and I don't really see a lot on there. So, I'm just gonna you know what? I'm gonna rip my butterfly bush out. I don't even care anymore. I took out all of the Irish Spring in my garden because I didn't want somebody to come in my backyard and think I was covering up the smell of a dead body. I mean, I said it, you know. So I think mine doesn't come up, Tammy, because my soil is so sandy that it just struggles to hold enough water. I think that's what it is. American Beauty berry seeds. What is that? What kind of berry is that? Yeah, so there's no, that makes sense, but they make bows and arrows and you can get away with it. But I know people don't like that. That's why I don't like. So we call ourselves a homestead because we do a lot of things. We raise vegetables, chickens, bees, and then we also hunt and fish for some, not all of our food, but as much as we can. So that's, we tried to live off that and get that pure food. But I'm as, if you look at my backyard, it looks like I'm in the middle of nowhere, but I'm in a neighborhood. I just happen to have the piece of property that's butt up to 8 acres of undeveloped and undevelopable land. So that works for me. How hot do you grow? If you're talking about peppers, I do not do super crazy hot peppers. What I've found is people either want crazy hot peppers or flavored peppers. That's it. So we're focusing on flavored peppers. So we're doing peach peppers, mango peppers, lemon peppers, and that's it. And then I do myself. I eat jalapenos. I've got a pepper that a guy I know created that I grew for the past couple years. It was like a apple flavored pepper, and that was really good. But I'm gonna take a break this year and move on to something else because I didn't want to cross pollinate it. So I need to. I want to figure out a place to plant the seeds next year so it can get more of a pure seed from it. So YouTube has a stupid heart on here, and I hate it. I tried stakes with fishing line around fruit trees, but so you could always do an electric fence. You can get a solar powered electric fence, zap them up pretty good. I know that works. My bee mentor has them around his beehives, and a bear went up to it and it stopped the bear. So, it'll definitely work for the deer. Yeah, no dead bodies. All right, everybody. So that's planting a summer garden and apparently a lot about flowers, which I didn't know we were going to talk about, which is why I like doing this. I think I'm going to start tomato seeds in about 2 weeks. And when I do that, depending on when I do it, I'm going to try and do another live and just hang out with you guys while I plant my seeds. So if you guys want to come hang out, we'll do that. Forewarn you, it's a little confusing getting on these and trying to show you the computer screen and then learning that and then doing so. If I get it wrong, I'm sorry, just bear with me. But I do want to try and do these more and more if you guys like them. And before I go, real quick, I'm going to ask this every single one on closing: is over the summer, what kind of videos do you guys want to see from me? So, we've been talking a lot about seed starting, but that's not going to last forever. It's got to stop because we're going to stop starting seeds. So, what are some things that you guys want to do? Because what I typically do is see what is repeated from people, and then that will kind of drive me into making a certain video, which I'm totally cool with within reason. But while you guys are doing that, I'm going to catch up on a couple of these. Micro tomatoes are cool, man. The plants are about this big, and they just grow lots of really small tomatoes. Are the berries edible, Rob? So the micro tomatoes, I got a arrow garden and I wanted to do that, but I forgot to order the seeds, and by the time I got around to it, it would have been too late. But I do plan to grow those inside next year. Hey, Jamie. And one other thing too, I want to bring up is so I have my bees. Are you guys interested in seeing in-depth bee videos on my channel? Because I'm on the fence about creating a separate bee channel. So I'll still talk about having them and stuff like that on this channel. But if you guys don't want to watch it, like I don't want to put it on this channel, so you guys are, I don't want you to feel forced to watch that kind of stuff. So if you're not interested in it, then let me know. Yeah, I'm definitely going to be talking about spacing sooner than later, Shiloh. So that'll be good because I'm kind of working on that. Everybody struggles with spacing, right? I'm going to be talking about crop rotation. I plan to do that. And I'm also going to tackle the very uncomfortable subject of fertilizing. Every time I brought it up, I've basically gotten hate mail. So that tells me that I need to talk about it because there's some misconceptions about it, which is cool. And I just want to make sure that, well, I mean, to be honest, I want to make sure when I get my hate comments and hate mail that it's actually coming from an educated space. So I am going to be talking about that a fair amount as well. Okay, succession planting for sure. Yeah, weeding. That's a tough one, man. What guard? I take that back. My wife loves weeding. She doesn't love it, but she doesn't mind it at all. I hate it with a pure passion. Yeah, I'm glad you guys came in. I'm like I said, in about 2 weeks, I'll try and put another post up. I'll try and make it so you guys can find it easily. So like I said, I'm learning the whole live thing, but I'm gonna try and do more of these. And as long as people show up, I'm gonna keep doing it. But I'm going to definitely take some of these. Yeah, now they're start pouring in when I'm trying to close. Yeah, Shiloh. So that's a big part of what I'm going to talk about in spacing, because that's something that I've worked on over the past probably 6 years, 7 years, is really figuring out what really does need spacing. And I mean, we'll be able to tell throughout the summer with the growing that I do. Thank you, Jamie. I'm glad you guys like it. I really am. Yeah, Rob, composting is a that's a good one. Yeah, so typically in the summertime, it gets into Connie. It gets in a lot into what I'm doing in the garden at the time. So different, like I may do a video. Typically, what I've done, I'm trying to change it so it's more viewer friendly. But typically, it'll be like I'm planting tomatoes, and then there'll be a lot of information within that will come up about the tomatoes. So, got it, Connie? Yep, Tammy, there will be a lot of that. And it'll be repeated over and over the fertilizing and the planting and stuff. Because when I plant, generally speaking, I'm going to bring it to you. There will be times where I'll plant without it, but usually what I do in my garden is what you see. So you guys can pretty much stay on top of it. Tammy, your hubby just needs to chill. So this is my first year in beekeeping too. I've got a really good mentor. He's helping me out. He's really smart and knowledgeable. So I'm learning as I go along. Yeah. Oh, Ash. I'm just gonna call you Ash. I'm sorry. I don't want to butcher your name. So I will definitely put a link in the bottom for the Planter app. Use the link, and I think it's like 20 or 30% off a lifetime subscription. So it's a one-time payment. Um, the developer is in our Facebook group for the Backyard Gardens podcast. It's called Backyard Gardens Community Garden. So if you guys haven't heard the podcast, check it out. I'm on that with my co-host Batavia, who was in here, but I don't know if she still is. So they support that. They're a sponsor of that show, and it's a great thing. And the app is consistently being developed over the past 4 years. He just added a seed box to it. So the seed box is where you can organize all your seeds digitally and keep track of them. So it kind of gets going in the right direction for you, and you can stay using the app for everything in your garden. Like I looked at one point, and I think Better Homes and Garden had one. It's like $200. This is just a fraction of the price. It's almost a dumb move not to get it, because it's changed the way I've gardened completely. It's made it so much easier. Tammy, the squash bugs ain't no big deal. You know this. It is the squash vine borer. And we're going to be talking about that. The squash bugs, whatever. It's the squash vine borer that we need to worry about. Thank you, Curbster. Thank you. I'm glad you guys like it. Tomorrow's video, it's because of the thing, I had to do a video like interject into the schedule. But so tomorrow's video, after that, should be catching up to almost real time. I'm typically, for those of you who are near my area, which I'm in eastern North Carolina, coastal North Carolina, I'm typically about a week ahead in my filming. So when you see my videos, typically, unless I say, it's about a week ahead. So that kind of give you some timing. And for the rest of the country too, I know you guys that are a lot colder, I try and adjust, I'll tell you like, hey, if you're doing this and it's time specific, adjust by a certain amount of time, and that'll get you in the right direction. But you guys have a great weekend. And like I said, in about 2 weeks, we'll be starting tomato seeds. And so we'll be on again. And that's just going to be a hangout type situation. If I do anything else, then I'll definitely let you know. But I do like doing these, and I enjoy talking to you. Oh, Jamie, you bought a seed starting schedule. I'm glad you like it. And if you guys want a seed starting schedule, shameless plug, email me after this. Give me about 5 minutes, and it'll all be added in. And you can email me, and we will make them. I typically make them on Mondays and Fridays. So you can purchase one there. So apparently there's a lot of trellising stuff. We'll talk about trellising too. But I got bus stop duty. So everybody have a good day. Have a good weekend. Have fun in your gardens, planting your gardens and your seeds. And I hope this helped. And we will see you guys next time.